Welcome back, Canonites! Announced in 2013 and met with years of delays, the Halo TV show is finally on the horizon. After some teasers, the first official trailer dropped at the recent Game Awards show. Fans have been speculating for years about what the show could be, and we finally have something real to look at and analyze. So let's break down everything we can from this trailer. First up, let's talk about the characters that we see in this trailer, and we'll start with Dr. Halsey herself. Portrayed here by Natasha McElhone, the TV series has seemingly decided to compromise between book Halsey's black hair and anime Halsey's blonde. I'd personally prefer the book-accurate black, but it's not a big issue. Next, we have Yeren Ha as Quan Ah, a 16-year-old from the Outer Colonies and a new character created for the show. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Quan will meet the Chief at a fateful time for them both. What this means is anyone's guess for now, but I imagine that Quan will be used to give viewers a look at how the Outer Colonies are treated by the UEG and help them understand why there is discord within human space. Speaking of new characters, we also get to see everyone's favorite, Maquis, as played by Charlie Murphy. If you don't recall, Maquis is a human raised by members of the Covenant. When this was first announced, lore fans were in quite the uproar, myself included. The Covenant hate humans, so why would they raise one? As time has passed since the announcement, I could easily see Maquis being raised in secret, perhaps being abducted by a San Shayum for some nefarious plot. Humans are incredibly useful for activating Forerunner tech. I wouldn't be surprised if even one member of the Covenant decided to exploit that. And on a quick tangent, I want to address the recently revealed Heresy of the Chosen, as I'm sure some people will bring it up if I don't. Quickly though, for those unaware, the Heresy of the Chosen was a sect within the original Covenant that believed humans were holy since they could activate Forerunner tech. Revealed in the recent Halo Divine Wind, the Heresy of the Chosen seemed to many fans to be a way for Maquis to make sense. However, it has been stated that Maquis, being raised by members of the Covenant, has come to share their contempt for humanity. That doesn't sound like it would fall in line with what we know of the Heresy of the Chosen, even with how little we do know. Anyway, moving on, the next character we're shown is Bokeem Woodbine's Soren 066. For anyone unaware, Soren was a Spartan 2 washout and as a result, found himself behind a desk rather than on the battlefield. Resentful, he eventually planned to defect to the insurrection, but was shot down when he tried to escape Reach. He survived the crash and escaped, though his story after that is largely unknown. Still, Soren must have found some help if they're sticking with his established background at all. Soren was deformed when his body rejected the Spartan 2 augmentations, but he looks perfectly normal in the trailer. Next up, we have Commander Miranda Keyes as played by Olive Gray. And I gotta say, she looks good in the uniform. Interestingly, the bars on her collar would indicate that she's already a commander. In the main lore, Miranda was promoted to a lieutenant commander in April 2550 and had achieved the rank of commander by 2552. While she's said to be a scientist of sorts in the show, something we never saw from her in the games, it looks like the show isn't brushing over her military service. Hopefully Miranda can get some real character development in the show, something she never received in the games or even the expanded universe. Next up, let's talk about the new Spartans who will join Master Chief. We get close-ups of Vanek 134, who will be portrayed by Bentley Kalu, and Kai 125, who will be portrayed by Kate Kennedy. Vanek looks to have black armor with some gold accents, wears an EOD helmet with a red visor, and carries a DMR. Kai looks like she has dark blue armor, wields a sniper rifle, and wears a helmet that looks like a fusion between the new Trailblazer helmet and EOD. The final Spartan is Riz 028, played by Natasha Kulzak, though we don't get as good a look at her. She seems to have some red accents on her armor and looks like she's wearing a version of the Scout helmet. She also has comms equipment on her back. The last character shot we get, other than the Master Chief's superhero landing, is of this man. I don't recognize the actor, and as far as I'm aware, he hasn't been identified as of yet. However, I would guess he's likely an outer colonist based on his clothing, maybe a smuggler. We do see the rubble in this trailer, or what looks like the rubble, which was originally home to insurrectionists and outlaws. But that should cover the characters we see, so we next move on to locations. The trailer features a number of locations, some new, some familiar. The very first shot features an unknown city on an unknown colony, one that has rings like Saturn, and right off the bat, I love the environmental storytelling here. We can see solar panels in the distance for gathering power, and what looks to be a massive shield, perhaps protecting the city from sandstorms. They might also serve other purposes too. A new vehicle debuts in this shot as well. The next shot initially confused me, as I thought we were seeing the events of Sigma Octantis 4 being brought to life. However, while it's possible the scene was inspired by the Battle of Sigma Octantis 4, this is definitely something different. This artifact, seemingly Forerunner, looks like it was found in some previously hidden underground chamber. The next shot shows us a human city on another colony, this one more developed seemingly than the one we saw at the trailer's start. Perhaps this is a city on Reach. Wherever it's meant to be, there are some interesting details in the shot. First, this defensive wall has 5 turrets atop it, which almost look like they were modeled off the turrets from Halo Wars. And along with some Pelicans, we can spot what appears to be a Halberd-class destroyer. Our next location shot brings us to what appears to be the inside of an asteroid-turned colony. Later in the trailer, we see what appears to be the rubble, the series of interconnected asteroids that much of Halo: The Cold Protocol was set in. Originally a home to insurrectionists and rebels hiding from the UNSC, it became home to several refugees when the nearby colony of Madrigal was attacked. It's interesting too to see the rubble here, as, in the aforementioned book, the rubble ends up being destroyed. Regardless, I have to admit, the designs for these asteroid colonies looks really cool. A mix of elements from the Belter colonies of the Expanse and Nowhere from the MCU, or something straight out of an old anime like Cowboy Bebop or Outlaw Star. The point is, it looks great. The next shot might leave fans excited the most, showing off a beautiful shot of High Charity, the Covenant's holy city. It seems like the design was largely inspired by the station's H2A makeover, but we can see some distinct differences. Notably, this long beam of white light running through the spires of gifting, the docking platforms that run up High Charity's spine, for lack of a better word. After that, we move over to this scene, showing a young child wandering around what I would assume are some ruins. Perhaps a young John 117 stumbling upon something beneath his home city. Alternatively, perhaps this is a young Maquis before she was taken in by members of the Covenant. Next up, we have a shot with several UNSC personnel running through a hangar bay, seemingly getting stuff ready to deploy. We can see pelicans, warthogs, scorpions, and even a couple mongooses. While we can't see much detail, the costuming here looks pretty damn good, as does the CG for the UNSC vehicles. Next, we see a series of pelicans flying through the city we saw earlier, though this time at night. Interestingly, the pelicans in the background have an orange strip on their wings, while the lead, number 325, doesn't. The lead pelican here also looks to be ever so slightly different from the others in the scene. I'm wondering if maybe this is an older model, maybe the D-75 we first heard about in Halo Oblivion. Finally, let's talk about the story. I think at this point, it's evident to say that the show won't be following the canon of the games, books, and other Halo media. It seems like it's taking disparate elements from the games and expanded universe and remixing them into a new story. The trailer's narration, which I'm fairly certain is meant to be Halsey talking to a young John, even says, quote, "I see this as a new beginning," basically telling fans this isn't the Halo they know, so to speak. It's hard to discern any solid details from this trailer. It's more about the spectacle of Halo being in live action on such a scale than giving fans an idea of the show's actual story. That being said, I figured I would lay out the story as I see it so far. Master Chief and his fellow Spartans discover what turns out to be a Forerunner artifact during a mission. This artifact will become the central driver of the plot, as Dr. Halsey, Miranda Keyes, and Jacob Keyes all find themselves working together to unlock its secrets while dealing with their complicated family history. At the same time, I'm sure we'll see perspectives from characters like Quan Ha and Maquis, fleshing out the beliefs and ideologies of the different factions found within Halo's lore. Maquis, I imagine, will be sent after the Forerunner artifact, infiltrating human society and perhaps learning that the beliefs she grew up with aren't exactly accurate. Quan Ha is also said to encounter the Chief at a pivotal moment in both of their lives, so I'm thinking Quan might be inspired to join the UNSC after she works with the Master Chief. Really though, I'm just grasping at straws here, but I wanted to share some thoughts on what the story might be beyond the obvious. With that though, I think we can wrap up this trailer breakdown. I still wish the show had been set in the established canon. There's so much of the Human Covenant War and so much of the Chief's personal history that hasn't been fleshed out. Other than a handful of events, the Chief's service record from 2526 through 2552 has a lot of blank spaces to insert new stories. And it's not like there can't be smaller moments of character development for the Chief, as Troy Denning masterfully demonstrated in his recent Master Chief novels. But that's not what's happening. The Halo TV show will seemingly tell its own story. We may see versions of its characters appear in the games or books or other media, but the show itself seems wholly separate from the main continuity. While that does sour my excitement for the show, I can at least go in with the right mindset. So, what did you all think of this first look? Let me know in the comments below. What has you excited, what has you worried, and all that. Also, consider joining the conversation over on the Halo Canon Discord. But whatever your choice, thank you for watching as always. Stick around for that Patreon shoutout, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to our Horospis patrons. First, there's Hope, then we have Freight, Discombobulated Sycophant, Man in the Dark, Keisha Dila, Daddy Anarchy, Great Scott Productions, Jumpy Sucks Balls, Lone Ronin 117, Austin Cantrell, and Ever Corrado. Thank you all for your amazing support of the channel. Next, I'd like to thank our theoretical patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or get a direct shoutout, check out patreon.com/halocanon. You can simply support the channel or get additional benefits, such as behind-the-scenes materials, including raw audio for upcoming videos, or even shoutouts like this. All patrons now get early access to certain videos as well, and your Patreon title will appear in the Halo Canon Discord. However, your continued viewership is more than enough for me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and maybe even subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. If you really enjoy my stuff, turn on that notification bell so you can be among the first to see new videos when they release. But for all my fellow Canonites, keep on being awesome.